Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Relationship Alchemy Show. My name is Barbara Santon, and I'm the host. And today we have with us the magnificent, the fabulous John Gray. Welcome, John.
Well, thank you. It's a real pleasure to be with you.
I read your book, as everybody in the whole world has, many years ago, and it absolutely changed my life. And I am going to read your bio regardless, because most people will know you, but it just really speaks to how incredible you are and how many lives you've touched. So I'm just gonna read it first, and then we'll dive into questions.
Okay, great.
John Gray is the author of the most well-known and trusted relationship book of all time, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. USA Today listed his book as one of the top 10 most influential books of the last quarter century. In hardcover, it was the #1 best-selling book of the 1990s. Dr. Gray's books are translated in approximately 45 languages in more than 100 countries and continues to be a bestseller. Dr. Gray has written over 20 books. His most recent book is Beyond Mars and Venus. His Mars-Venus book series has forever changed the way men and women view their relationships. John helps men and women better their understanding and respect their differences in both personal and professional relationships. His approach combines specific communication techniques with healthy nutritional choices that create the brain and body chemistry for lasting health, happiness, and romance. His many books, blogs, and free online workshops at marsvenus.com provide practical insights to improve relationships at all stages of life and love. An advocate for health and optimal brain function, he also provides natural solutions for overcoming depression, anxiety, stress to support increased energy, libido, hormonal balance, and better sleep. He has appeared repeatedly on Oprah, as well as the Dr. Oz Show, Today, CBS This Morning, Good Morning America, and others. He has been profiled in Time, Forbes, USA Today, and People magazine. He was also the subject of a 3-hour special hosted by Barbara Walters. I like to think I'm Barbara Santon, but I tried to be Barbara Walters. I have big shoes to fill. John Gray lives in Northern California, where for 34 years, he happily shared his life with his beautiful wife, Bonnie, until her passing in 2018. They have 3 grown daughters and 4 grandchildren. He is an avid follower of his own health and relationship advice. Wow. That was probably not even scratching the surface of the wealth of information and, gifts you've given to the world. So welcome.
Thank you so much. That's very nice of you to say.
All right. So I want to dive right in because we have this incredible show called Relationship Alchemy. And it's for single women who would like to shift their way with how they approach relationships. And so, you've incorporated a lot more than just like relationship, techniques now recently, with nutrition and all of that. Can you just speak into the sort of more holistic approach that you're using these days?
Yeah, I mean, it's big. There's 20 books. Certainly, I look at nutrition, I look at exercise, I look at mindset, look at history, look at therapy, a lot of different dynamics. However, regarding everything, you really have to get that there's a huge disruption of truth happening in the world today in so many different ways. And a lot of it started, could be intentional, could be not intentional. And that's not the issue. It's the confusion that men and women are equal. We want equality, right? Equality is what we all strive for. What a beautiful world we have, equality. But equality doesn't mean sameness. To have a partnership, equal respect, equal appreciation, opportunity for growth, so forth. Equality doesn't mean sameness. And as soon as we start thinking sameness is equality, then suddenly in order to have an equal relationship, you have to think the way I do. You have to react the way I do. You have to behave the way I do. And for me to feel that you love me as much as I love you, you need to treat me and think the way I think about you. And that's just never going to be the case. We have to look at reality and realize there's a reason a beneficial reason. If like somebody planned all of this, there's a good reason for it. And I love the title of your show, The Alchemy of Relationships. The alchemy is, what alchemy is you take this and you take this, you combine together in a certain way and you get gold. Okay. That's sort of the metaphor of it. And there's actually people that can make gold. I've seen them where it's not just take this and take this, it's heat this up to this degree and then take this and filter it out and then do this and then do that. And then suddenly you get something new. It's kind of like chemistry on a very basic level. I just remember being in chemistry. I think it was potassium, a little piece of potassium, put it in water and you get fire. Okay. Just kabang. That was that memory because you get such a big reaction. That's alchemy. And really what you're talking about is exactly what I talk about, is the alchemy of men and women coming together. And as if we sort of step back and say, what is the alchemy of relationships today, as opposed to in the past? And most of all of our training, all of our go-to automatic reactions, our assumptions, our expectations, our ways of interacting, our mindset is all based upon a reality that is no longer our reality today. So you have to change everything. If you are a poor person, you have to learn how to live life a certain way. And suddenly you make a lot of money, everything has changed. You see, you have to realize, I need to approach life differently now. And it's change happens, we need to adapt. And so to adapt is to understand the basic alchemy of men and women, that to whatever extent it worked, it worked. Some places it worked, some places it didn't. As much as people want to do revisionist history where they can look back at life and see how bad things were then and how we shouldn't be that, actually, that's what got us to where we are now. There's a lot of wisdom in the past that we want to cling on to as we apply new ideas. To think that people right now, without standing on the shoulders of the wise people of the past, can suddenly create a new future. Who are they to say that? What have they done? They're just talking. So many people in the universities are talking about how relationships should be, what you should do in relationships. Who are they? Have they lived in long-term relationships? Did they experience what people are asking for today? What people want today is different. My parents, and I got to see how what happened in the past actually worked. So you have to have a model of what works if you want to work with it. See, if something doesn't work, you don't have a clue of what does work. Just to do the opposite isn't the answer. Sometimes it is. So if I look at my parents, real simple, a loving relationship, raised 7 children, no divorce, everybody's, lived their good life. Never saw my parents fighting, never had divorce. They stayed together and they're happy and content. Contentment, that's different from passion. After probably they have 7 kids, they probably pretty much stopped having sex. And when they had sex, it was probably more routine, and then they stopped having sex. So that's like the typical relationship. Everybody knew in the past, the romance went away. And I know today you want me to talk about romance. We have to realize it's totally unrealistic to think that you can have a romantic relationship last for a lifetime unless you dramatically remodel your relationship skills. And that takes new insight to do it. And you mentioned that I teach skills and whatever in my books. Actually, I only teach attitudes. Later in my book, Beyond Mars and Venus, I talk about actual practical skills, but it's more like attitudes of, for a lot of single women, for example, right now in dating, in my dating book, Mars, Venus on a Date, one of the attitudes you want to shift is stop asking men questions. You see, this is one big, huge thing is women, you see, we feel like, it's the golden rule, right? The golden rule is give what you want, rather than give what you want. And your mother tells you, if you want somebody to be interested in you, be interested in them, right? No.
Nope.
If you're interested in a man, we're talking now gender knowledge. When you're interested in a man, he becomes more interested in himself and less interested in you. Just know that's the case. You have a one-night stand with a guy. Does he like you more? No. He likes himself more. He says, look what I did. I scored. It's literally, we have to understand men and women come from completely different perspective. And granted, when our hearts are open and we are in balance within ourselves, and I'll explain what that means later, then we are very, very, very similar. I have a male side and I have a female side. And just to know how this works, when a man is angry, he's too far on his female side. And most people would think the opposite. Oh, and men are taught the opposite too. There's to be a real man, you have to be angry and ferocious. And no, you're cool, calm, and collected. You're in control of yourself and you have compassion for others. You react in terms of understanding them rather than, wait, I have to be right myself and storm around puffed up. That's femininity in men. Now, why do I say that's femininity in men? Because that's not necessarily what women look like when they're being feminine. It's because a man has a different biology. When a so I don't know how to turn this off. I turn off that's so funny what I'm saying right now is men don't know how to turn off their female side when they're too feminine. They don't know. They don't have instruction on this. And then women give him even worse input. A man gets upset and what do? You ask him questions. What's the matter? What's wrong? Why are you upset with me? Why are you not talking? What's going on inside of you? The worst thing to do is ask men questions when they're bothered, because talking, if you're talking about what's inside of you, what you're feeling, it produces a female hormone called estrogen. Now, I have that hormone, but women need 10 times more than a man in order to feel good. In order to feel happy, less stress, you need 10 times more estrogen than a man. And for you to be romantic, you need 20 times more. Now, here's what romance is. And when my daughter, Lauren, who's now 35, she teaches classes for women only and on relationships. One of their most popular ones, how to get me time, which is how to be happy without depending on a man to be happy. Then when you ask for more and how to ask for more, she teaches how to ask for more. You do it from a place of, I want more. I'm happy already, but that would make me happier. That's the approach you need to take to a man. His job is not to make you happy. His job is to make you happier. If you come to a man from a needy place, he will always, his basic insecurities will come up. How can I make her happy? How can I make her happy? You want to give him the freedom to make you happier, as well as he needs to have this approach with her. I don't look to her to be happy. So many men look at you, and if you're unhappy, they become unhappy. Why are you so unhappy? Why are you complaining? What's wrong with you? As if that's going to make a difference. Does that make you change? Does that make you feel good? Does that make
me happy?
Doesn't work at all. So that's an example of what men will do. They always do this. If you're upset, they explain to you why you shouldn't be upset, why you're making a big deal out of it, why you're overreacting to things. So another tip in dating, if something's bothering you and you want to talk about it, you say, I just want to preface this and just say, I want to talk for a little bit, but it's not a big deal. That's it. And a man will go, oh, not a big deal. I can listen to that.
Right.
As soon as if you bring emotions into it, I'm not saying suppress your emotions, but if you're emotionally upset with him, that's not the time to talk to him about it. The time to talk to a man about things you are bothered by, you'd like to change, is when you're feeling good in your life. And you say, by the way, when you do this, if you do it this way, I really like that. So it's an add-on. Bonnie, my wife of 34 years, she used to complain for many years until she did it differently. And then I changed. That's something I just didn't change. And I'm not blaming her for it, but certainly that's who I am. I would not turn out the light on the living room when I walk through. I would just forget. My house is as long as half a football field. So I turn on so many light switches, turning them off. Not a big deal to me. But to her, after 10 years of saying, John, you forgot to turn out the light. You forgot to turn out the light. Her having to ask again and again and again, her mind changes and thinks that if he doesn't do what I ask him to do, it means he doesn't love me. Oh my God, now that's a huge stress reaction. You see, it's like, he doesn't love me. So the reaction is, John, you forgot to turn out the light. The tone of voice says I did this big, terrible thing. Because in her mind, if she doesn't understand men, her mind will interpret this. If he doesn't do little things for me, he certainly is not going to do big things. But the way men are, little things are not so important. It's the big things that are important. And if women don't understand this, that's why if you minimize any problem you have, men will listen and they'll be present and they'll be more understanding. If you tell them, and I can handle it myself, but I just need to talk about it because it feels good. It feels good to talk about it. And a guy who doesn't understand this, he might say, well, why are you bringing all this stuff up? It's only for 5 minutes. Give him a time limit.
Right.
Okay. So what I learned, it became very clear in counseling women for 10 years, just being able to listen to them, is that some women would say to me, they would go, why is it that you're so good at listening to me and my husband doesn't? He's my husband. I said, okay, 3 reasons. 1, I know you're going to be here for 1 day a week, and I'm going to hear you complain the whole time, and it's only 50 minutes and you're gone. So I don't have to live with you. That's the first thing. Second thing is, when you're complaining, you're never complaining about me. I'm not going to sit here and listen to you complain about me. I'll say, oh, okay, I get it. Go find another therapist. I do not want to hear somebody complain about me the whole hour, but they were complaining about their husband, which I can do that. I say, oh, I'm better than him. So 2, she's not complaining about me. 1, a limited time of complaining. And I know there's an end to it. It's just, she's gone in 50 minutes. So I'm not going to walk away with this. And the third and most important is I get paid for it. I'm not going to sit here and listen to you and be empathetic to you if you don't pay me. And you know, and people, if they hear the truth straight, it just seems so heartless. No, that's a reality. Of course, nobody's going to listen to you complain about them and then not get paid even. So let's just put this in perspective. So let's take a little piece of information from that, again, from what worked in the past or what can work, and apply it to our relationships. If you want to complain to your partner, complain about other things. He'll listen completely. Women say he never listens to me. It's because you complain about him all the time. Or you blame him. Try complaining about other things. Guess what will happen? He will actually, by listening, your estrogen levels will go up. You'll feel happier and you'll have less complaints about him. And you actually might begin to experience love again, which is to appreciate what a great guy he is. It's hard to find appreciation if you're in a woman's body and your estrogen levels are low. And if you're busy making money all day, your estrogen levels are low. They don't go together. Sacrificing yourself for the buck, solving problems, all those things are making testosterone. And unless you feel relaxed, easy, and somebody's got your back all the time, and you don't have to do it to survive, you'll be making estrogen too. That's just not the case today, particularly single women where you have to work to survive. You're constantly producing male hormones. And this is where the traditional relationships had a benefit and a disadvantage. Disadvantage compared to today is there was no lasting passion, but men were men, women were women to a great extent. If you found a husband who was somewhat good at self, he was somewhat not insecure, so he wasn't violent or addicted. Okay, he had a good job, well paid, he could support you, and his happiness was your happiness. And so he didn't have any demands. He came home, my dad came home, watched TV, not a big deal. And my mother was so happy raising 7 children. And that's the first need. Survival was taken care of. She didn't have to worry about money at all. Second, safe neighborhood, security. We lived in a nice neighborhood, country club down the street, a forest. And everybody can hear that and go, oh yeah, you had all those amenities. That's right, I did. I saw it when it works. The way it worked was my dad did a job. He went away. My mother raised the kids. If we misbehaved, 6 boys, 1 girl, 6 boys, and a happy mother all the time. Why? Because she handled us. She said, now, if you don't listen to me now, I'm going to tell your father. And when she told the father, he'd come home. He said, okay, you get punishment. He pulled out a belt. And this is what you did in Houston, Texas, is you pulled out the belt, pulled on your pants, and you whipped your kids. Now, today we say child abuse, child abuse. My dad did the best he could. That's not child abuse. Now it's child abuse. Then that's what people did. So we're trying to judge the past by what we are today. It's a different world. You can't do that.
Yeah.
People did what they did, which was appropriate at that time for the level of consciousness. And today we have to change our rules. And the rules is the recognition that men and women are different. And in those days, we knew men thrive best when they're providing, when they're selfless, when they're earning money in order to provide for a family. Selfless activities, difficult activities, dangerous activities, all those activities actually strengthen testosterone. And feeling safe, cared for, feeling you can depend on someone, nurturing activities, and guess what? Even cooking and beautifying and being beautiful, all of these aspects are very feminine. Now, that was a stage of evolution. We've upgraded. Women want to be on their male side. Men want to be on their female side. Men want to have a happy life. Men want to enjoy hours of football. They want to have fun. They take their time for themselves. They want to be on their female side. They want to demonstrate for peace. I remember this is the 60s. I watched it happen in my life. 60s. I'm a teenager. I grew my hair out long. What does that mean? I'm going to be like a girl. I didn't think I wanted to be like a girl. I wanted to be cool. But what was happening was the emergence of the valuing of my own female side where I had long hair. I started caring about how I looked. I had bell-bottom pants. I got kicked out of school. I demonstrated for peace. I wouldn't go to Vietnam. All these things was anti-masculinity. I was becoming more feminine. And that's okay. It worked really well. And it felt really good because when you have both the male and female side inside of you, it's ecstasy. Now I went too far to my female side. Once you get too far to your female side, now you have addiction and you get lazy, you procrastinate, you become weak as a man. And that's what's happened to men today, because basically they're too far on their female side. And what brings them to their male side is a woman who's more on her female side. But the problem is that women are more on their male side. So all these women, if you're single, you're too far on your male side. You're independent. Just being an adult and being single, having to support yourself, puts you on your male side. So when you're on your male side, literally it makes men lazy. It's kind of like if I'm with a bunch of guys, this is guy talk, right? Understand men. If I'm with a bunch of guys and there's something that needs to be done and some guy says he'll do it, we all sit back and go, great. It's your turn. Next turn, maybe my turn. Okay. So if you're with women together and somebody's going to go in to do something, they say, oh, let me help. Let me help. They all want to come together. See, it's a whole different mindset. Right. It's men. If you do things for men, we become lazy. If men do things for you, they become strong. Heroes. What makes a man hero? He does things which are difficult, dangerous, selfless activities and suffers for you. He becomes a hero. Whenever you're in heroic mode or even moving in that direction, guess what hormone gets produced in your body? Woman or man? Testosterone gets produced. So women hormones, they have testosterone go up. You know what that happens in a woman's body when her testosterone goes up? Her estrogen goes down, her stress levels go up. You know what happens in a man's body when his hero level goes? His testosterone goes up, his stress goes down. Men need 10 to 30 times more testosterone to regulate stress. And when they have that high testosterone, their stress goes down. Then they can embrace more estrogen without becoming stressed. You see, a stressed man always has high estrogen, female hormones, low testosterone. See, think of testosterone that's the biology. And that's the proof of this. Nobody can dispute this knowledge now, pure biology. But let's just put it in easy terms. Confidence. See, men need confidence. They need to feel, I know what to do to provide happiness for you. And you can look at any argument a couple ever had, and it's because it comes down to it. I'm talking 50 years of counselor experience here. You can dissect it from this perspective, and it simplifies it. Men want women to be happy. When women aren't happy, men will give you a solution or tell you something. If it doesn't suddenly make you happy, then he starts becoming upset because he doesn't have control. He needs to feel he's in control. And what that means is confidence means I can get the job done. I can do what's necessary to get the job done. It's not some control freak thing. Overly controlling men are insecure. A confident man is not controlling. He's in control, meaning I know what to do in this situation. And so what men need is training. Men don't have the training. You have to train them. The number one thing that will help you come back to your estrogen side and make you a happier person, more attractive to men, that's what you want. You want to be attractive. You want some guy to be there for you, to give himself to you. Well, he needs to feel it's a job that pays a lot. And it's not a job that pays a lot if he can't make a difference. You see, when I can contribute, my book, Men Are From Mars, pays a lot. Still pays 27 years later. It's amazing. Bestseller around the world. Okay. Because it contributes. It helps people. When you actually help people, you're a hero. You get paid for that. Our world pays more. The more difficult something is, the more skilled you are. So if a man can sense in a woman that she needs his help and he can provide it, well, that's a job I can get paid for. So that's being vulnerable. That's being on your female side. Now, what does vulnerability mean? We have to expand our understanding of that. It means, well, first of all, it's your feminine side. Our feminine vulnerability is femininity. Femininity, vulnerability is simply the ability in your mindset, your ability to be affected by others, So when you're happy, you're vulnerable. You all know, you hear this, men like vulnerable women. It used to be, the old thinking was, if you want a man to love you, you show weakness and, I can't do it myself and whatever. Well, you can be super strong as long as you're also vulnerable, which means that you're found a place inside of you that you do need his help. And what help do you need from a man is you want companionship, you want attentiveness, you want affection, you need romance. But just say to a man, I need your romance. He doesn't know what you're talking about. Okay. And romance is such an abstract thing. Okay. If you were to define it for many women, it would be when he does things, when he does things without my asking, that come from a place of understanding a need or a wish or a want that I have, that I don't have to ask for, and he does it, and he does it, and he doesn't, and he discovers things that I don't even realize I want. Then he's like super romantic. Wow. Oh my God. It's just what I want and I don't even know it. And he does without my, of course that's romantic, right. But because it produces a huge amount of estrogen. But it's also true that you get a lot of estrogen just when a man does what you ask for. And as you start to trust that I can ask for more and get it, your estrogen levels keep going higher and higher and higher. And what my daughter Lauren in her class called How to Get Your Me Time, I mentioned it before. It's at my website, marsvenus.com. It's so practical for women. I was writing a new course with her, and there we did the father-daughter thing, and with her, and she was talking about how to get a man out of his cave, how to pull him out, or teaching women how to get men who withdraw to come back. And in that teaching, she said, and once you do this, then when he comes out, he'll be romantic again. And I said, well, he's always romantic when he comes out of his cave? And she says, well, yes. And I said, what is romantic? He says, oh, he'll go empty the trash. And I said, and that's romantic? Well, of course, Dad. See, when you're happy and a man does something for you, it's romantic. But if you're not happy and a man does something for you, it's not anything. And if you're somewhere in the realm of hell happy, you're happier. But once your estrogen levels get to a certain point, biologically, your happiness gets to a certain point, anything a man does for you is romantic because you're responding to it. It's all about the glasses you're wearing. Are you wearing your pink glasses today? Or are you wearing your dark glasses today? It really is where you're coming from. And of course, when a man feels appreciative of what he can do for you, he will become more drawn for you. And the prize to a man is a woman's smile. It's your happiness. It's all in your smile. And what I wrote a book once, it never got published. I didn't publish it, but it was like a woman with a smile and a man with a plan. A man with a plan, a woman with a smile. What do you want women? We want a guy who thinks ahead, plans a date for you, is thinking about the future, he's being considerate of these things. Yes, that's important to you. You know how that's important to you. That's not important to him. He doesn't need that from you. What he needs from you is a smile. That's it. Your response to what he does is the most powerful thing in the dating process, in the relationship process. And to give up any complaining never works, just doesn't work, but asking for more works. Once he's done things and you're happy with what he's done, then you can ask for a little more and a little more. So Bonnie, with the house thing where I didn't turn out the light, then she figured, okay, I got to change another way of doing this. And she said one to me. So she popped her head in the kitchen one day and she said, John, I noticed you've been turning out the light. And she smiled. And I feel like, oh, good boy. I could certainly turn out the light sometimes. She said, I've been noticing you've been turning out the light. And I love it. And sometimes, and it's not a big deal, but sometimes you still forget. And I just want to remind you how much I love it. It feels so good. And then left the room. Kabang! Did that 3 times. And even now she's gone, I'm still turning out the lights. I mean, it changes a man. A woman's love transforms a man. It brings him back to, I can do, I will do, I make a commitment, I promise. He follows through. That's masculine energy. And men are weak in that today to the same extent women are weak on their feminine side. And so women are always saying, oh, an unavailably emotional, unavailable man. No, she is emotionally unavailable. She needs to become more emotionally available. And then he will connect to the feeling side of him through hearing you. But a man can't hear your feelings, your vulnerability, unless he feels he's not being blamed. So that's why you share other things in your life. And that's why when you're dating, another thing is to realize being heard is feminine, listening is masculine. So talk more. Don't ask so many questions. If there's no talk, ask a question to get it going because you're the one who knows connection is so important. That's estrogen. And then as soon as he says something, then you use the magic phrases. Oh, that makes sense. Oh, that's a really good idea. Oh, I hadn't thought of that. Or you're right about that. Amazing. And then launch in to whatever you want to say that's in there, because there's always something to say, or you got to find it if you're so shut down. So you're talking a lot more. And then you pause. What do you think about that? So the phrase is never, how do you feel about that? Take that out of your vocabulary. Never ask a man what he's feeling. Don't, just, you'll see. Try all this stuff. You'll see it works. It's the opposite of what everybody's teaching. because everything people are teaching does not create lasting romance and passion. I know what makes lasting romance and passion. It's helping men be more masculine, helping women be more feminine. And suddenly you have the alchemy. That's the alchemy of the masculine connecting with the feminine. And when you bring those two together in balance, that's romance, that's passion, and that's great sex as well. And I want to throw this in as well. I know our time is short, but what we have to know is more research, more biology here. And all this is expanded in my book, Beyond Mars and Venus, the one right over there. Yes. If you're single, read that one. Or you want dating skills, read Mars, Venus on a Date. But this is the most recent one, teaching women why you need men to help you come back to your female side, how to teach them to come back to your female side. And it's the example of, oh, you don't have to say something. I just want to talk about this a few minutes, it helps me unstress from the day. And then afterwards, make sure he knows he gets his payment. That really helped. I really appreciate that. Thanks. Feels so good now. See, you have to teach men this without teaching them directly. It's like nobody wants somebody telling you how you should be. That's man or woman. But you've got to guide him by showing him what works and asking, kind of like Bonnie asking for the light to be turned out. It's so easy to change a man once you come. First, you change yourself. And anytime you're blaming him, realize, oh, these emotionally shut down men, they will open up through you in a way that supports you, as opposed to you asking them feelings. And then they're just talking about themselves, and they will not feel attracted to you. His attraction to you comes from him helping you, not you helping him. Now, another dynamic here, and remember, these are just a few of the things you learn in my books. This is real key. The science now shows, and I have to say this because it's not in my books yet, because the research wasn't out yet.
Ooh.
For men, if a man has sex on Saturday night, what will happen is his testosterone levels will drop the next day to baseline, whatever they might be. If he has low, he's more boring in his life, he'll be more flat. That's why these guys, after having sex on Saturday night, they sit around on the couch all day watching TV, watch the sporting game, trying to get their testosterone back up. So basically, it'll take a drop after the next day, and then it will stay around baseline and slowly rise. On the 7th day, this is 6 days of abstinence from sex. They did a study, no ejaculation for men for 6 days. On the 7th day, their testosterone levels become 50% higher. That means his passion, his interest, his romance is dramatically greater. That will raise your estrogen. There's nothing more powerful to raise your estrogen than a man being attentive to you with 50% more testosterone. And this is shown with this. There's a pheromone that he puts out, a smell that puts out his high testosterone attraction to you, sexual arousal to you. And that will go and reach a little nose inside of your nose that raises your estrogen 50%. Boom, it just goes right up. You have an immediate advantage just by having a man be attentive to you. And that's why women are so interested in romance today, and they weren't in the past. Because you want your estrogen level, you need it to go higher. You want passion, you want that experience, that attraction. Well, that's higher levels of estrogen for you. It's higher levels of testosterone for him. And it's about aliveness, and you feel alive, and you just feel more love as a result. Okay. So the takeaway from that is you're dating a guy. Now you're at that place where you're having sex. And please never have sex with a man unless he knows you. He will only love you less, like you less, be repelled by you.
Right.
You know how you feel, women, if men get all sexy right away and you're not yet in the mood? It's disgusting.
It's gross.
It's disgusting. It's repellent. It's absolutely repellent. Well, that's what you have to know a man feels after sex if he doesn't know you. You look online, all these guys having sex with pretend sex online or with prostitutes. They never want to see him again. Done. Ugh, disgusted. Go on to the next. Well, that's what he'll feel about you. If he doesn't know you, so he has to know your mind. You have to be mentally naked with him, and he's still not repelled. Okay, some women, as soon as they start talking, a man goes, I'm not going to have sex with her. But as long as you don't get her to talk, you can be attracted just on a physical level, because men can experience, a horny guy can have sex with anything, evidently. But if it can talk, wait a second, I don't want that. I share feelings. Oh my God, I don't want that. So you have to make sure that this guy knows you and still wants to be with you, have sex with you, join with you. And then he can hear your emotions and you can be vulnerable with him. And he still wants to be with you. Then if he has physical connection with you, he's not going to be so repelled by you afterwards. because he will be repelled physically temporarily, but it won't be that emotionally repellent. Disgusting. Never want to see her again. Just as you felt disgusted by a man in the beginning and sometimes even afterwards too. It's kind of like, what did I just do? You gave your soul to something that doesn't even love you. You don't do that. Don't throw your pearls before the swine. And that's really a good message at this point. So you take time to learn. And then what you do, it feels so good. And finally you can open up and you connect together. And what you have to know, women, is that you have sex with him once. It's going to take him 6 days of not ejaculating, not having sex with you before he can get back to that place where he feels that for you. So don't have sex more than once a week. You just got to know this, because you're going to go off on a sexy weekend and you can just do it several times. He'll get it back and you'll do it again. It feels so great. This is a wonderful time. He's going to 3 days later, he's going to be thinking of some other woman. Okay. It's just, and he's going to remember what happened. He'll do his thing. It's too much sex. Too much sex kills sex.
Oh my God. This is like revolutionary.
Yes, it's revolutionary.
You need to write another book just on that.
I do. That's why my interview, this was the Japanese did this study. Several studies have proven this. If a man does not ejaculate for 6 days, on the 7th day, his sex level 50% higher. And that's what keeps a woman levels up. Why do women over time with relationships, they lose interest in sex quite often? Most common thing is women lose interest in sex. Men are designed to be horny all the time. So it's a difference for men. But if a man has sex with you and his testosterone goes so high, it reassures you that you are safe and loved. Then when it goes down, he pulls away. That tells you that if I open up, men pull away. So naturally, your conditioning in your brain is that if I open up that much, I will lose him, because you will. Always after sex, men will go back down to baseline. So he's like schizophrenic. He's so attentive. Next day, he wants to watch the TV. And you kind of go, what happened? Why am I not the TV? So, but that's all natural. It's normal. He goes up, it comes down. And so to recondition the brain, women, your brain has to be reconditioned that even if he pulls away, he comes back. It comes back. So it's a retraining of your brain so you can open up again. If a man keeps just leaving you every time, over time, you will not go to that high level. And that's why women lose interest. And then it's also just too much sex. In the beginning, couples have lots of sex. They think, we're a good couple. We're having all this sex. And then his testosterone stay at baseline. So if he has sex twice a week, he stays at baseline. On Saturday night, it won't go 50% higher. You get one day, 50% higher a week, and that's it. And if you don't have sex, you got to have, once you're in the relationship, make sure you're having it once a week. Because if you don't have it once a week, then it doesn't go to 50 automatically. You have sex and it goes down a little bit. Then you next week have 6 days of abstinence after having sex, and a man will get a boost of 50% higher. It's like this big biological reward for having sex. But too much, it doesn't work. Too much sex, you see what happens is when a man has sex with a woman he cares about, when he ejaculates, also his body makes another hormone. And that hormone is, I'm going so fast, my brain's not remembering, but there's a particular hormone that a man's prolactin. When a man has sex with someone he cares about, a committed relationship, that means he prioritizes you over others. You're special. He cares about you. He's seen you. He heard you. You have first mental sex, meaning you're naked mentally, you're naked emotionally, then you're naked physically. Okay. And you still want to be close to him. So if he's in that situation, this is on married men, happily married men, when they have sex with their wife, they also produce a hormone called prolactin. Prolactin is what a woman's body makes to make the baby, to milk. It's a nurturing hormone. Yeah. But what that nurturing hormone does is kills his sex drive for 6 days. Unless he gets that hormone from a woman, he's going to be so horny, want to masturbate and be thinking of other women. It's nature's way of saying, if you haven't found a woman that you love, you should go find another and another and another. But if you find a woman that loves you and you love them, you have that connection, your body will make prolactin, which inhibits men from addiction to sex. And what we live is a society of men who are addicted to sex. It's really sad. And now you feed that addiction with the cocaine of pornography, and men have to just learn how to get over it. But what a woman can do is by being in a monogamous relationship with a man and just saying, sex feels the best for me if we just do it on Saturday night, and then we wait a little bit of time to miss each other and do it again. And as a gift to me, if you would just not take care of yourself during that time. Try as an experiment. This I've done with couples, with women. It's just say, try. Men will go, why can't I do that? Whatever. So just try it. This is only 6 days without masturbating or running off and having sex with somebody else. Just see what happens. And it's amazing. All men will experience it right away. If you have sex on Saturday night, It doesn't have to be Saturday. It's an amazing experience. It's just like if you were to skip a meal, food tastes so good.
Right.
You see, this is where we have to miss things. We have to feel need, and the need for intimacy on a physical level seems to be a rhythm of 6 days without. Now, what men say to me, and this is the future for men, is that men will go, well, that's not enough. I said, you'll see, your life will change. There'll be other things that fulfill you. You're so focused on just having sex. Then you can start learning how to have sex without ejaculating. Now, I have sex every day, probably a total, I went for 5 days the other day because I fasted 5 days. So I ended up having 5 times sex the next day after the fast. So it was about 8 hours of sex that day. Why? Because I know how to have sex without ejaculating. So that's lots of books are written on this. My book is not, but that's another thing men can look forward to. But that doesn't even work for them. They can read those books and they say, it just didn't work for me, because you need at least 6 months of having sex once a week before that technique will work. Because there is a technique you can read about in books. People teach it in different ways, where men can be orgasmic. They can have orgasms without ejaculating. I can do 10-hour. I did it this last week, but spaced throughout the day. And this is what raises a woman's estrogen level to where she's happy and fulfilled with just what she has in her life, and asks for more in small increments without demands. And you become so attractive when a man is providing that kind of support for you. But it all starts with her finding her femininity and him finding his masculinity and learning the ways we lose that. And the alchemy is to discover how men and women who are anchored in their masculine and feminine can come together to create something greater. And that's what alchemy is. 2 things to create something greater. And what that means is that I find my female side through her. You see, if I embrace her softness, then I become soft. If she enjoys my hardness, then she's embracing the hardness inside of her. See, coming together. I found my female side primarily through working through my resistance to connecting to what my wife's feelings were about life. Not always agreeing. I don't have to agree. I have to validate. I have to understand. I have to see the wisdom of that for her, even though it may not be right for me. It's right for her. And how do we find compromises, win-win situations, so that both parties get the support they need? And this comes back to identifying our primary emotional needs. And I know we do a short interview. I want to give a kind of a guiding light on this of what your North Star is. Just think about this for the alchemy. What men need most is testosterone. What women need most is estrogen, and they need progesterone. If you're still cycling as a woman, you need to have more estrogen, primarily towards ovulation. Then after ovulation, you need a balance of progesterone and estrogen. Progesterone is produced through social bonding or doing things for yourself that you enjoy. Basically, anything you enjoy doing that you're not looking for reciprocity. But reciprocity means, I do for you, you do for me. And the big thing is I need you to do this for me. I respond to you, you do for me. So if you go to a doctor's office, for example, you produce estrogen. That's probably why, well, first of all, we know it's why women, most of the people who go to doctors are women until it's an emergency. Okay. Why? Because just going to somebody for advice who has knowledge that can help you, knowledge that can help you that you can't do for yourself, will produce huge amounts of estrogen. If you can realize this, you cannot get to the highest levels of estrogen for you without a man in your life. Then you start to realize, what can a man do for me? You don't know what a man can do for you. In the past, my parents' relationship, a man could make money, and that helped a woman be in her female. It didn't help her be in her female and her masculine. That's the alchemy. So women can be independent, but then they use a relationship with a man to come back to your feminine side by having him do more for you, by having him be more for you in ways that you teach him are valuable to you. And this is a gradual process, but how do you teach men? Very hard. Just like, how do I teach women? Women don't want to read, don't want their husband telling them this stuff. They have to find it on their own. Men don't have to find it on their own. That's the good thing about men. Men are like dogs. You can train them. Women are like cats. They come to you when they want to come to you. Okay. It's like, I tell men that I tell women, you have much greater advantage because you say to a dog, sit, and he doesn't sit, then you just put the food right over his head and he'll sit to get the food. And then you give it to him and you say, sit. And he learns sit means I get a treat. So this is what you have to train a man, that when you ask him to do stuff, you always gets a treat, never gets a punishment. Bonnie our relationships got so much better after we did dog obedience training because she learned a few tips. It was the logic of our dog would never come when she said, come. And she'd get all mad at the dog. And finally, when the dog came, she'd hit the dog. Oh. And the trainer said, oh my gosh, that you're training the dog that whenever it comes to you, it gets hit. Right. So whatever a man does his best, whatever it is, good enough or not good enough, if he gets slapped for it, you're training him not to try. Because men are always trying to do their best according to what they know. You just have to get that. If you knew that, you would not be so judgmental of men, and men would not be so judgmental of women. We just don't understand each of our vulnerabilities, our weaknesses. To take one simple example again that applies everywhere, but for Bonnie, it's very easy to remember to turn out the light. For me, it's not. Right. Simple as that. And if somebody said, I'll give you $100 every time you turn out the light, I would do it. and that's what she did. Although I don't need her money, I need her smile. She gave me the smile and she acknowledged me for what I do. And she said, it's not a big deal, but sometimes you still forget. I love it if you try to remember, or I just want to remind you how much I get out of it when you remember. Man, that sticks in a man's brain. If you tell a man, walk on your hands, give her an orgasm, men are all going to be walking on their hands. It's the training in small increments so that you don't give him the message he's a failure. Failure lowers testosterone, creates defensiveness, puts a man on his female side, not on his male side. Things that build confidence is what's masculinity. What builds safety, trust. So a woman can feel safe and trusting, that builds estrogen. And so we can use those words, but I like to use the biology because if I say, confidence lowers your stress, women will say, well, I'm confident. I like that. I want to be that. Right. Said, yeah, of course, but it's not lowering your stress. Well, how do you know? I said, look at the symptoms in your life. How many single independent women are stressed? Yeah. And they often say the code phrase, I have no time for myself. What man says I have no time for myself? Right.
Never.
So this is being more on your male side, because think about it. See, for men, we're designed to be solving problems. And then at the end of the day, our energy runs out. We say, forget it. Office is off. I can turn it off.
Yeah.
But if I'm on my female side and I'm a man, I can't. See that if you're a male and you're on your male side, and people can go, what do you mean not talk about your feelings, not open up and share and all that stuff? I said, that's not good for men. And go back to ancient tradition. Buddha taught, forget your problems. That's what meditation is. Everybody's talking about be present, be present. What is be present? It means don't think about anything other than what's right now in front of you. That means forget your problems temporarily. And that's really good for men. It's not good for women. What women need to get their estrogen levels up is to talk about things that are going wrong. What are the problems? Just don't make him the problem. He can't hear that. Go back to biology again. Imagine you're a woman and you're in a tribe and you see a lion, okay, or a tiger in the woods. Well, what do you have to do? You want to keep that a secret? No, you got to go tell everybody. Otherwise, you feel it's all your job to protect the village. You have to do it all yourself. Now, if you're a man and you hear there's a tiger, you're going to go into the woods. Are you going to make any noise? No. You got to sneak up on that guy. So men have to be quiet. Quiet is testosterone. Making noise, expressing is estrogen. Now I'm making noise now, but always with the point of view of how to solve the problem. Right. Men always want to solve the problem. Men don't know that when their wives are making noise, the problem they have is they need somebody to listen without trying to solve the problem that they're talking about, but solve the real problem they have, which is women today need to feel somebody's going to listen to my craziness inside, my negativity inside, and not judge me for it. Yeah. And the way a man can do that, if you tell him, look, I just need to talk about this and then it will make sense. I just need to kind of sort it out. That's another one. Is that, I got all these conflicting ideas in my head. If I can just talk it out, I'll feel better. You don't have to say anything. I can work it out myself, but I really need to be able to talk this out. So give him a job. And at the same time, tell him I can do it myself. So independent women don't want to reveal the craziness inside. We all have it there. And women, by the way, you've got about 8 times more of it when it comes to your emotions, and you don't know it.
Right.
It's like that's what therapists do. They help you get in touch with this stuff. Women, when they come to me, they go, oh my God, I didn't know all this stuff was existing. For example, and this is how you learn through my books, how to process your emotions. Let's say something makes you angry. Well, it only makes you angry because you're disappointed. And disappointment is a totally different emotion. And if you're disappointed, you're also sad. And sad is the opposite of anger. So if you're angry, you're also sad. And if you're sad, guess what? You're also angry. But you may not know it, depending upon what level of emotion you're able to feel based upon your conditioning. And most women can't feel their anger until they find justifiable reasons to be angry. And it's just, you want to get out of using the outer world to justify your emotions and realize your emotions are negativity, and it's there to be embraced and released and let go of. And you can let go of it by shining the light on it, by simply talking about it. And then you talk from frustration, say, and if you're frustrated, you're also disappointed. So I'm so frustrated. There's so much traffic today and nobody's appreciating me in the office, and they gave me all this stuff and they didn't answer my call. I hear that. And what's disappointing about that? Well, I want my life to be more fulfilling. I wish there wasn't so much traffic. I wish people would appreciate me more. Just like, it's so disappointing. I thought this was going to be this great job. Now, see, a man hearing that, well, you should change job. No, I don't really need you to fix it. I just need you to feel it for a moment. It's just feel it for a moment, because it's what's inside of you. It's feelings. It's estrogen. That's how you get your estrogen up. You pump it up that way. Then whenever there's disappointment, if it's causing any stress at all, then there's concerns. Well, tell me your worries. Tell me your concerns. Well, I'm concerned I'll never be appreciated. I'm concerned the other day I was in traffic. I don't know exactly when I'm going to get there or not. Some days there's traffic, some days there's not. You never know what's going to go on. Concerned about my health. And then there could be other subjects. And what woman walks around without worries and concerns? Okay, it's there. But you kind of go, why talk about it? There's nothing I can do about it. I've got it handled. That's your male side. Your female side needs to talk about it. And your partner needs to hear it. Now you experience intimacy. He gets inside of you. And if when he's in you and you make a nice noise, like, oh, that makes me feel good, then what's going to happen is then he's going to be more attracted to you because he's getting paid for what he does. It's like his confidence comes up. He's making a difference. But what man thinks he's making a difference when his wife is talking about all the problems in her life? Men go, oh, she's always dealing with problems, simply because she doesn't say to him, I just need to talk about this for 10 minutes or 5 minutes, and then I'll feel so good again. Yeah. I just need to talk. You don't have to say anything. It's really not a big deal. It will sound like a big deal. It's not a big deal, but it feels so good because I'm pushing these crazy feelings down all day. So I can just share them with you and you just listen. I'll go in for the hug and feel great. That's learning how to train a man, give him the knowledge and give yourself the knowledge. Because often women don't, even though they say, I don't want to fix anything, then they turn around and say, he should do this, he should do this. Yeah. So they say, I just want you to listen and then do something about it, change. No, that need to try to change the outer world to be happy releases its grip when your estrogen levels go up. And estrogen will go up to the extent you can talk about your feelings without taking responsibility to change anything. And that's the difference between sharing and complaining. To understand, this is another discernment. These are like amazing ideas. It took me years to figure this stuff out. You're getting it in 1 minute. It's discernment. It's if you're with a girlfriend and you're in a restaurant and the soup is cold. It's warm soup and it's cold. You kind of go, hey, is your soup warm? I mean, shouldn't soup be hot? And you go, yeah, this is terrible soup. And how much did it cost? And you might go into conversation and then you go, I have a better soup remedy. Really? And your mother gave you that? And you have a whole big conversation sharing negativity, right? Women love sharing problems. Oh, yeah. You're bonding through that because you're sharing negativity. Sharing is feeling. It's what you feel. It's what's inside. And none of us are positive all the time. It doesn't exist. If you think you're positive all the time, you're just pushing down the stuff, pushing it down. Then you have no feeling at all. And the passion goes away. You're not enjoying sex. You're not enjoying touch. You're not feeling great. Okay. So, because you're not feeling anymore, you're pushing down numbness. So in there is positive and negative. That's the yin and yang of life. There's always positive, there's always negative. I'd love, for example, to be living in Florida right now where you don't have to wear a mask. In California, we're a police state. And also California, I have to pay 20% tax on my income. In Florida, I don't pay any tax on my income for Florida state. So a lot of benefits over there, but a lot of benefits over here too. I like California better. The weather is better for me. No hurricanes. So they got fires, but I'm not in a fire zone. So I'm okay. So life is trade-offs. If you have a hormonal balance, the alchemy of the male and females inside of you, you're able to live happily with the trade-offs of life. You don't demand perfection to the extent I don't have this, but what I do have is this. Because people are always comparing. We're always comparing. And what women will do a lot in their relationships is compare what I do versus what you do. And I'm always doing more. And now I resent you and think I'm justified in resenting you when really I'm not. This is my own negativity. You can listen logically and say, oh, I did all this and that's why I feel, and feel justified. And I go, no, what you're feeling is negativity. What he's doing is neglect, but you're being negative. And what I know is negative responses only creates more neglect. So you're creating your reality. Yes. So this is like advanced knowledge. It's just, so the discernment of sharing is you're sitting there with your friend and you're in the restaurant, you're sharing, this food's so terrible. I don't even think I want to come to this restaurant anymore. Well, maybe we'll come another time. We'll see. So you're just chatting and talking. And then suddenly you go, waiter, this soup is not cold. And we're not satisfied that this is so expensive. And now you're sharing all those feelings with the waiter or the manager. Now, at that point, you're complaining.
Yes.
Because you're using your negativity to get more, to get someone to change, to get them to do something. And I promise you, the more you complain in life, the less you will get. You'll look evidence like, well, I should be getting more. You will get less. It says this is not that love is what creates transformation. And particularly, you can see how powerful it is when you start with men and men start with women. Okay. But I'm talking mainly to women here. So when you start using these techniques, you see how much more a man will be bonded to, how be attracted to you. And it's not like you're just waiting for life to change. No, you also ask for change. But the first stage of this is to stop doing the things that ruin it. And everybody is doing the things that ruin it. Today, we live in a rampant divorce society. People are not finding love. People are wanting passion. They're losing passion. They're dissatisfied. And I'm not saying everybody. I'm just saying the masses. Okay. There's always exceptions to everything. I'm an exception to that. I've grown in love. The worst thing that ever happened in my life was my wife dying of cancer. Devastated by it. I know how to heal from that. It took me 2 years to heal from that. Now I'm in a better relationship. Now it's hard to even say that. It's the first time I've ever said it, actually, but meaning I'm more loving than before. The healing I went through of feeling the loss of my wife, reflecting on how I could have been a better husband here. And the way I heal that, this is part of how you heal, is to go, I've learned my lesson. I promise to be better. And so now my next partner gets to have a better John Gray, which means I can love even more. And this is the possibilities when we're able to heal and recognize my mistakes. So, when I talk, and if I'm doing a fast talk, it sounds like I'm just blaming it. Whoever's upset, I'll blame them, and I will. But more, if you're doing an hour session with me, I'll be more gentle and help listen to everything that the person did is wrong. And then I'll help you see how you contributed to the problem. So, but we all, if you want to create change, if you come to me and say, how do I get what I want in my relationship? Well, how do you have to change? You only get a change when you make a change in yourself. You can't change the outer world. When you make a change in yourself, then you can change the way you approach them. But don't even think about the way you approach them if you feel your happiness is depending on them changing. Your happiness is dependent on you changing. And sometimes you get with a man and he's so emotionally unavailable. I taught a class, and I remember in the early years when I was teaching at the prisons, these are hardened men. And you think, how do they get them to feel? You ask them, what are you feeling? Nothing. So I brought in women to the prison and did exercises. Instead of asking the men what they feel, I had the men asking the women, how do you feel about this? How do you feel about this? And we did therapy where men would ask I told them what to say. They totally shut down men. Right. And I say, now just ask the question over and over. Tell me a time that was painful or difficult in your life. And how did that make you feel? And the women would talk. And I said, now tell me another time that was painful and difficult in your life. How did that make you feel? And now what made you angry in your life? And then what made you say? I just told the men what to say. And the women at a certain point all started to cry and open up. And then I say, now men, you can give these hugs, non-sexual hugs. And the men would hug the women. And then I had them reverse. And the women would say to the man, what painful, difficult time? and all the prisoners. It's a bit more extensive process, but all these men that have never expressed emotion or vulnerability all started crying and were hugging their partner like their mother.
Oh,
It's
wow.
because first the women opened up. And ironically, the more a man is steadfast and not reacting, it allows a woman to go more to her female side. So if you have the unemotional man, great, you're lucked out, because it's the emotional man, not that where he's a bad guy, he's more challenging, because you're going to get emotional, you're going to get upset, he's going to get upset right back.
Yeah.
And so you get a guy who's kind of like, I don't get it. Why are you upset? You say, oh, I know you don't get it. That's okay. And reveal vulnerability. Now, if you show vulnerability about just complaining, well, they don't do this, they don't do that. No, you complain a little bit about life, not him, and then you reveal your emotions. Emotions is how men can connect with you, because we can relate to emotions, not the content of what's causing your emotion. You need the emotion. You feel the pain, the sadness, the frustration, the disappointment, the concerns, the fears, the embarrassment. Oh my God, if you can share with a man, oh, I was at work today and I said this thing and I'm so embarrassed. That man will suddenly swell up and go, yeah, really, tell me, because suddenly it's like it's like undressing. It's like emotional nakedness. If you share something, you feel embarrassed. And a lot of women I work with, they don't feel embarrassed about anything. I mean, I can't even go through a day where I don't open my mouth and feel embarrassed about something I said.
Same here.
It's what life is. You have to learn to love yourself. You're not perfect, And of course, the losing of my wife, the massive depth of embarrassment and guilt and shame. That's the deeper levels of embarrassment. Is it just that came forth, that triggered feelings from earlier life and so forth. This is the depth of life. And takes time to get to those places. That's people that are really committed to personal growth. But just to be in a relationship, women, you are the ones who need to use your life to trigger your emotions, to share those emotions. When you can be emotional with a man, he's there for you. One wife said to me, I was talking about this, and she said, John, do you think it's strange, but sometimes I cry and my husband holds me and I notice he's getting an erection? I said, it's totally normal. That's the best thing. He's like a woman I can hold and make a difference with. That's going to turn him on. And of course, it's his wife, and they have a beautiful relationship. I mean, that she is so soft and vulnerable. You can just see why he just thrives with that, because she's soft and vulnerable. It's hard to be soft and vulnerable when you're an independent woman. It's just hard. It's easier to be soft and vulnerable if you're in a committed relationship, a man's there for you and have some good relationship skills, and you have a job. But now you're in the world, you're alone, you have a job, you got to think about, I got to pay for myself, I got to survive, I got to get this. Anytime you go into, I have to do, and life is male, have to do. There's a lot of things we have to do, but then there's the other side, I get to do, I enjoy doing, I love to do, and I don't have to do it all myself. See, that's the major estrogen stimulator. And now we go into the sex part of this. So important to give up that vibrator, women. That is just going purely to your male side. Okay. Now, a little self-stimulation is fine to get to know where your clitoris is and to know what it feels like and everything. But actually, if you want to be a multi-orgasmic woman, it's very different type of orgasm than just using your clitoris until you get an orgasm. See, then you're done. You can have sex. Okay, I'm done. One orgasm, I'm done. It should be a lot of orgasms before you're done. And then there was a place of, I'm mindless, I feel like I'm dying. That's I'm done. Okay. Or he's done before you. But the bottom line is, it's hard to get to that place if a man can't last long enough. And it's all about testosterone for a man. And if he has too much estrogen, he'll be fast. And that's what's happening today, is that women don't experience a good 15 minutes of intimate, loving intercourse, or even 20 minutes to build her up.
Right.
And if they need that, you need that in order to get to that higher level. And men can't do it, most of them. You've got two extremes. There is an extreme of the man who has no estrogen and he can just pump and pump and pump, kind of like a porn guy, but there's no connection. You can see there's no connection. So a woman, he needs to be experiencing both estrogen and testosterone, but not too much estrogen. As soon as his estrogen starts to go a little bit too high compared to his testosterone, then he will ejaculate. That's what ejaculation is in a man. There's too much pleasure. Pleasure is estrogen. So too much pleasure, it sort of short circuits his body. And even when it comes to sex, you give a man subtle tips, because it's hard to give instructions in sex.
Right.
But you can let him know. He says, sometimes before you put it in, I like you to stimulate my clitoris. Oh, I really love it when you touch my breast. His hand goes down to touch down, bring it back up to your breast. It's best not to talk. You can often just move your hands around. And now I'm getting into my talk. It's a really great talk for couples to listen to. It really is the answer. So you don't have to teach them at all. Have a talk, teach them, which is funny. So I'm like a comedian. I did my own comedy Broadway show on gender differences. It was just my Men Are From Mars talk. I did the biggest theater on Broadway, Gershwin Theater, sold out performances every night. Done with that. That's too much work. But it was great show. People laughed. Okay. Men and everybody love to learn laughing. And if you want to turn a guy on to my ideas, is you say, sometime you're watching TV, you go on YouTube and you say, this is a really funny guy on relationships. Not like he needs to hear it, but it's my TED talk where I'm wearing a red shirt. It's got 2 million listeners. So it's the more popular one. It comes up. It's very funny. And that opens men up to my ideas. Then there's a talk I give at marsvenus.com in my academy called Secrets of Great Sex. And it's the funniest talk I've ever given. And it's divided in sections. It's a little course with little instructions that go with it. But for a guy to hear those ideas, once he's open to me, makes him more open. And without him having to admit, I don't know what I'm doing in sex, or without him to admit that, well, I know what you're supposed to do, but I don't do it.
Right.
it helps remind him and so forth, and you have conversation about it. Or you can go with the book, once you're in an intimate, committed relationship. Oh, this is a fun book to read on sex. Let's read it together. And men are usually open to that. Let's read it together. And it's called Mars and Venus in the Bedroom. And it's done very tastefully. Each chapter sort of opens up a whole agenda of where you can kind of communicate what you like by just going, ooh, that's nice. Ooh, that's nice. And it's really very G-rated. That's the great thing about it. And yet it takes you to the extremes of anything X-rated would bring you to. What I see is that when people cannot enjoy great passion with G-rated sex, that's where they have to go to XXX until they're doing it with horses. This is insanity of our culture because people can't get to the intensity of passion that they want in sex because they don't have intimacy. It's all about what our soul wants through sex. If we're animals, our soul just wants a release to make a baby. That's done. And if you didn't make a baby, go after and make another one, make a baby. So this is all biological. So there's a strong sex drive that we need to embrace inside of us. But as souls, as spiritual beings in a body, our reason for having sex is to experience more love. That's what we call it, making love. And as soon as sex becomes more important or more dominant than the making love part, basically that's also when men ejaculate, by the way. It's also when women have this single orgasm experience rather than a multi-orgasmic experience. It should be a waves and waves of increasing love, as opposed to whenever you're feeling like, oh, I need more than what I'm getting, that's building a tension. Then you're going to ejaculate, or you'll have a single orgasm for a woman, or you won't have an orgasm at all. That's another aspect. Ever trying to have an orgasm will inhibit a healthy orgasm. And trying for more. If you notice, the best parts of sex, if you look back, is if you look at it without that little sneeze, it's the addiction, big high dopamine stimulator. It's the arousal stage. It's just coming on, it's just like, oh my God, all those beginning feelings. So just get the awareness. It's the beginning. And as soon as we're starting to want it to become more intense, that's when we're no longer having those arousal feelings and we're wanting to bring them back. So you have to learn that's the plateau. At that time, you come back to feeling your love and communicating your love, speaking, talking. And again, this is such far out stuff, but it's for women to go more vulnerable, which is, do you love me? Tell me you love me. Tell me why you love me. See, as she needs to be more orgasmic, it's like to feel, yes, you're there for me, because she's losing herself. You see, it's total surrender, getting out of her mind, fully into her body through her heart is like such a powerful thing for women. And this is what we can look forward to, but it all starts outside the bedroom and finding the partner and all of that, which is what we've been talking about today. Get real practical. But it's good to have a few glimpses of what's possible out there. This is the world we're moving into, which is the potential. And always before every step in the right direction is a step in the wrong direction. Because life is, we learn through self-correction. And right now, culturally, we stepped in the total wrong direction, which is to try to get women to be more like men and men to be more like women by denying our sexual differences. And this is the wrong direction. And what I'm doing here is helping you use the wrong direction, which is actually a step in the wrong direction to find the right direction. It's good. And the truth is, it's really good for women to get out of the role of total dependence, to find independence, but also to find dependence along with it. And then what you have is something we all want, which is interdependence, but not sameness. Right. And just to put it in a little bit of political context, not equity. Yes. Equity, this is like people hear equity, they don't know what it means. So I just have to remind you, but when they're saying we need equity, we need communism. That's what communism is, pure equity. Everybody gets the same payment. Everybody gets everything the same. Lack of equity, the equity they want is no matter what you put forth, you get the same result. It's like win-win. Everybody wins. You play a football game, both teams win. That's equity. We all win. I go to work and I work really hard. You know what it takes to write 20 books? I'm a multimillionaire because I worked my butt off to do this and also have a loving relationship so I can be an example of what I teach. Highly committed to this stuff. I don't have addictions. I didn't do all these things people do. I did the stuff that works. And so I got it. I worked for it. I got it. I deserve it. Other people deserve it in terms of, yes, you do deserve it, but you have to earn it. Yes. If you do, that's a society that says that's the male side of us that has to earn what we get. The female side of us doesn't. So my female side, I deserve everybody's love no matter what. If you get to know me, I'm lovable. But if I want more love, I got to do stuff for it. That's my male side. So what we need is a combination of like capitalism and communism. That's what we're trying to get to. And the same thing in relationships. We have this male side, female side. We need to find the alchemy of the two that comes together, a political system that can give you both. And actually, the Constitution of America gives you the opportunity to that, depending on how you translate it. The most important thing is freedom of speech. That's being taken away now. Censorship, digital censorship is now legal. And it's insanity. Okay, freedom of speech. The other most important thing is in any relationship is you can speak, but speak wisely. See, that's what we have to learn in our relationships, how women can speak to be vulnerable, how to communicate in a way so that man will listen. And for men, if you're angry and upset, don't speak. If you have anything other than positive feelings, don't speak. Because if you're negative and you talk, your negativity will only increase. This is reality. So, you go to a therapy office and the therapist will ask the woman, what do you feel? And then the man gets upset and the therapist says, well, what do you feel? And he gets all upset. And he said, I better not say what I think and what I feel. And I said, no, tell us what you feel. Then he throws all this negativity, which is not really him. And she says, see, that's why I want a divorce. Right. It's insanity. You have to learn manners, learn how to treat people. And so men, when they're angry, they need to stop talking. When women are angry, they need to learn how to talk and have somebody hear them. And if you're angry at your partner, you should be talking to somebody else about it as opposed to them, because they're not going to hear you being angry with them until you've trained them. Now, I've been trained, so I could hear it and was proud of myself for hearing it without reacting. Kind of like what you make with a young man in the army. Well, that's the craziness of the lack of alchemy between men and women. Is we need to make peace with differences. If people are different, then we're not so hypersensitive, getting upset about everything. This is like such imbalance. I remember my mother teaching me, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never harm me. Grow up. This is what people need to hear. Grow up. And yet at the same time, wouldn't the world be better if we don't use derogatory terms towards others? But let's start with not doing it in person and not look in someone's private life where now you're afraid. So what's the first thing of democracy? Freedom of speech. What's the first thing that goes away in China and Russia? No freedom of speech. That's what's happening in America. Wake up, folks. And where does it start? In our relationships where we don't have appropriate communication. That's the beginning of it. And then you get the division. We get the polarization of opposites. You see, Republicans can't hear Democrats. Democrats can't hear Republicans. Vaccinated people can't hear vaccinated people. What's your deal with unvaccinated people? You have some illusion that they're harming you. If you're unvaccinated, I'm vaccinated, an unvaccinated person. So they can have COVID. What does that do for me? I've got the vaccination. So, I want to help you. So I hate you. It's like in the war, we're going to destroy this village to save the village. What are you, insane people? But see, this is just the justification. It's given permission for the worst part of people to come out. Just like if you go to a movie and you have a really bad guy over and over and over, then at the end, you have justification to be thrilled when they beat that bad guy to a pulp. And you feel justified in that. All we're doing whenever we're negative is looking at the outer world to justify our own negativity. So process your negativity until we come from a place of equanimity, confidence, peace, love, harmony, joy. You know, these are all parts of who we are. And when you're not that, you're not you. And you can't blame anybody else for that. You can point out they triggered you. I call that the 90-10 principle. Anything that upsets you, bothers you, 90% of that is you.
Yeah.
So before you go around trying to, take the speck out of somebody else's eye, take it out of your own first. You know, these are all like basic truths of life that we live with, but we don't apply in any way. You know, this is practical reality. If you want to make a better world, start with yourself and then start with your spouse. And don't fool yourself to think that you don't need relationship. That's part of life. And, you know, some people are I was a monk for 9 years. I understand you can be happy, but only for so long. Then if you really find God, you realize you're here to serve God and help the world. And that's through relationship. We need relationship. And women, you need men. So you'll feel safer, you'll feel supported, you'll be able to learn new skills, you can receive, but you have to realize you can't appreciate somebody if you don't need them. You have to be able to feel that. You can't feel your needs until you start getting them. So it's a gradual process. And, you know, you say, oh, I know what I need. I said, no, you don't. If you're not happy, you don't know what you need. Just like if somebody's sick, I said, well, you just don't know what you need. And they say, oh, no, I know what I need. Oh, what do you need? Oh, I need ice cream. I need junk food. I need this. And I go, no. And you feel the need for those things because you don't have the experience of a healthy diet to where you feel the need for that. You see, when you really get what you need and your body comes back into balance, then you know this is important to me. This is what I need. It's kind of like for me, it took me a long time to get what I need to do is shut my mouth when when I'm starting to get angry with her. And she taught me this. I learned all this stuff from my wife.
Amazing.
She said to me, John, you're angry. I can't hear you. And she'd walk out of the room. I said, no, I'm not angry. You are angry. You're not talking from your heart. I said, okay, I'll talk to my heart now. I can talk to my heart. And okay, I'll give you another try.
All right.
It's a simple thing. You know, you have to build up a level of trust and openness, and then you have to have the right communication. In that example, she didn't tell me you shouldn't talk. She just said, look, when you're angry, hard for me to hear you.
Yes.
So I'm just going to walk out of the room. She's not telling me to stop talking that way. She didn't say, don't be angry. She said, look, I don't want to talk to you right now. I'm not changing you. I used to drink at parties. There's a big issue that comes up for women in relationships. Oh, my husband, he's like drinking, whatever. And what do I do? Well, you're always ragging on him for drinking. He's going to resist you and it just gets worse and worse. So I'd be drinking at parties. The problem for me is that I'm a celebrity. So everybody asks me, and a therapist, everybody asks me questions. I have so many funny stories. You can say I can talk for hours and hours, tell you stuff. It's very interesting stuff. I like make it a point of learning interesting things and have a great storyteller. And so within half an hour, once I start drinking, the whole room will all be listening to me teach a seminar or telling funny stories about my life and what happened this week. And my wife kind of go, what happened to the party? It's just my husband again. And she would you always take up all the space in the room, and oh, you're so funny and everybody's laughing, but you take up we don't know anything about anybody else in the room. We have no relationship with anything. And somehow I kept doing that over and over. I said, okay, I'll try to remember. So then one day she decided that I was going on like that. And she just left the room. And I said, honey, where are you going? I said, oh, if you want to take over, that's fine. I'll just go talk with a friend in another room. And I stopped because I wanted her to be in the room. And she did that 3 times and I dramatically changed. It was amazing without getting mad at me or being upset with me. You're drinking too much. No, it's just she did what she needed to do. And let's say a guy drinks too much and you want to go out. And she says, well, if you're going to drink tonight, I'd rather not go. We'll do something else another time, but not from the point of view of I'm the victim here.
Right.
I'm the victim here. And then you could say, oh, we have my friends having a party. I want to go. Would you do me a favor and just have only one drink? That would make me really happy. Okay. They give a reward to it. And then afterwards, you say, I noticed you only had one drink. That was wonderful. I really appreciate that because I know you're more attentive to me. I know you can drink. I know you're really funny. I know it's cool for you to drink. And that's your choice to do.
John, we have been chatting for an hour and a half. I think I'm going to wrap it up.
Oh, we have to wrap it up. Thank you. It's a timeless place. That's what sex can become as well. Quite timeless. So I've enjoyed a wonderful conversation with you.
Thank you,
Barbara.
John, so much for your generosity. This has been incredible, and I hope to do it again.
Okay, we'll look forward to it. Okay.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Bye.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.